Chapter 108 Fierce Battle at Liquan. The vast, boundless black earth, as if ravaged by a celestial fire, was a desolate wasteland littered with corpses. At the edge of the earth, the black aura in the sky grew increasingly intense, and the distance between heaven and earth seemed to be only a few inches away, almost within reach. An ancient, desolate black gate stands here, covered with dense tadpole-like characters. At its center is an incredibly deep vortex, captivating the soul. This is the exit of the first level of the Holy Land, leading to the second level. However, only teams possessing the Demon Bone Dragon Crystal Core can pass through this gate. Otherwise, they will be absolutely unable to approach it and will be repelled by a repulsive force. Beneath the dark clouds, on a solitary peak, a dozen or so figures suddenly appeared. Liquan, we've been waiting here for 7 days and haven't even seen a glimpse of the Dragon Hammer tribe team. If this continues, the Royal City team will probably be on the 3rd level by now. This group of people were the Zhonglei tribe's troops who were waiting here. Their purpose was naturally to wait for Liu Feng to bring the Longchui tribe's people over, so that they could take advantage of the situation and give them a good beating. Unfortunately, they had been waiting for 7 days, and several teams had appeared, but none of them were their target. The other side had the first-level mission items, so they naturally couldn't stop them, otherwise it would definitely cause a conflict between the two sides. Their goal was to eliminate the Dragon Hammer tribe, not other tribes, so when facing other teams, they could only obediently let them pass and dared not make any more enemies. What's your rush? This is the only way to the 2nd floor. Do you think they can fly away? I don't believe they'll stay on the 1st floor forever. Everyone, stop complaining and wait patiently. Liquan snapped at the complaining man, and the others dared not say anything more. They knew Liquan's temper very well. He was capable of anything when he was angry, and even their own people might get sent flying with a single blow. However, this wait did not last long. "Boss, someone's coming!" someone in the crowd exclaimed. Upon hearing this, Liquan suddenly looked up, his gaze sweeping into the distance like a cheetah. On the desolate land, several black dots rapidly approached and came into view. The group moved quickly, and the leader, with an ethereal air and flowing blue robes, was none other than Liu Feng. "Ha ha! The Dragon Hammer tribe's brats have finally arrived. Everyone, perk up and prepare for battle." A ferocious smile instantly spread across Liquan's face. He'd waited so long, these brats had finally shown up. Liu Feng had already caught a glimpse of the figures on the mountain peak in the distance, and couldn't help but curl the corners of his mouth. These fools really had been waiting for them here from the very beginning. Swish, swish, swish. Suddenly, a deafening sound of wind breaking filled the air, and then more than a dozen figures swept down from the mountain peak and appeared in front of Liu Feng. The figures were all dressed in lightning robes, their faces filled with murderous intent, like wolves who had been waiting for a long time and had spotted their prey, their eyes gleaming. "I've been waiting for you for so long, and you've finally come out. I thought you were going to stay holed up on the 1st floor forever. If you had hidden for a few more days, you might have actually managed to escape." On the mountaintop, Liquan smiled as he looked at Liu Feng and his group in front of him, a sinister killing intent slowly surging in his eyes. After saying that, he leaped off the mountain peak and landed at the very front of the Zhonglei tribe's forces. "Hide. We have no intention of hiding." Zhang Yan walked out of the crowd step by step, his face calm and composed, without the slightest panic. He sneered, "We've come here this time to teach you a lesson and avenge the last trial." "Ha ha ha." Upon hearing this, Liquan immediately burst into laughter, as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. Then his gaze turned icy, and he said in a deep voice, "Are you dreaming? Who gave you this confidence? Was it this boy in blue?" Zhang Yan was about to respond, but Liu Feng stopped him. The latter took a step forward and said calmly, "No need for further nonsense. Liquan, do you dare to fight me? If not, all of you can come at me together." "What an arrogant tone! You dare to yell at me? Do you really think you can get away with this just because you gained some advantage with a few tricks last time?" Liquan said with a sinister look in his eyes. "Whether it's a little trick or not, we'll know once we try it again," Liu Feng said with a smile. Upon hearing this, Liquan's face immediately contorted into a ferocious smile. He was clearly furious at Liu Feng's provocative tone, and a murderous glint appeared in his eyes as he sternly said, "Since you're so eager to be tortured, I'll grant your wish." The battle in the desolate market that day had already caused him to lose face, making him vow to get revenge. However, he did not expect that Liu Feng would dare to provoke him again. This time, if he could not break every bone in Liu Feng's body, he would not be able to swallow his anger. Although he suffered a minor setback last time due to Liu Feng's somewhat unpredictable swordplay, Lei Quan was confident that if he went all out, he would definitely render Liu Feng powerless. This time, he would crush Liu Feng completely under his feet in front of everyone. Boom! A surge of immense true energy suddenly erupted from Lei Quan's body. He then took out the Thunder Arc blade, and the violent true energy rubbed against the blade, generating intense electric currents. "You brat, this time, I'll show you the real difference between us." Lei Quan grinned, staring at Liu Feng not far away, his face filled with a ferocious smile. Liu Feng remained expressionless, a protective aura emanating from his body. With a flick of his wrist, a ball of golden light transformed into an incomparably sharp demon-slaying sword. "Go to hell!" Lei Quan grinned maliciously, gripped the knife with both hands, and took a sudden step forward. Wow! A violent burst of lightning resounded across the sky. To everyone's astonishment, the lightning spring seemed to transform into a bolt of lightning, hurtling towards Liu Feng at breakneck speed. Liu Feng remained motionless, and a flash of lightning rapidly magnified in his eyes, instantly shrinking the distance between the two to within inches. Thunderous roar cleaves the heavens. The sharp blade light, carrying endless liquid lightning, was extremely violent, tearing through the air with a thunderous roar, heading straight for Liu Feng's neck. Clearly, this thunder spring had no intention of holding back when it made its move. Swift as the wind and thunder. With a flick of his wrist, Liu Feng unleashed his sword with the speed of the wind. The sword light collided with the blade's edge like a reflection in a mirror or the moon in the water. The intense energy spread outwards, and the sword and blade clashed almost simultaneously. "Humph! Let's see how many moves you can withstand." Seeing his attack broken, Lei Quan was not angry. Instead, he smiled coldly. His cultivation was far superior to Liu Feng's. If it were a contest of the strength of his true energy, he could wear the latter down countless times. This kind of exhausting battle was naturally the scene he was most happy to see. A chill ran through Lei Quan's eyes. He took a half-step back, lightly touched the ground with his feet, and leaped into the air. The Thunder Arc blade drew a semicircular arc in mid-air, and suddenly, streaks of lightning blade energy rained down from the sky like a shower of light. Lightning descends upon the 9 abyss. A thunderstorm descended, but these were no ordinary raindrops. They contained extremely violent lightning power that would explode violently upon contact with any object. The overwhelming thunder and lightning completely blocked all of Liu Feng's escape routes, enveloping his entire body and leaving him with nowhere to retreat. The wind sweeps away the clouds. A burst of azure light erupted from Liu Feng's body, and countless extremely agile sword energies swept out, colliding with the thunder and rain shooting in from the sky, producing a series of continuous, shocking explosions. Unable to gain the upper hand, a fierce glint flashed in Lei Quan's eyes. He raised his treasured sword to his chest, unleashing a torrent of violent lightning, and, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, slashed straight out. "Transform into lightning, slash!" Like a bolt of lightning descending from the sky, Lei Quan swept across the land with overwhelming force, burning the air into smoke and turning it into nothingness. Liu Feng slowly raised the demon-slaying sword, and an eternal and immortal aura quickly spread from his eyes. He then swung the sword with a speed that seemed slow but was actually fast. "That sword again!" Upon seeing this, Ji Lai's pupils shrank. He had been defeated by this very sword that day, without any power to resist. Bang! The two figures collided violently, unleashing a raging energy storm that swept wildly in all directions. As a result, Lei Quan staggered back more than 10 steps, his face slightly pale, while Liu Feng remained unmoved. Only his clothes were torn in a few small cuts by the scattering of the blade's light, and that was all. When the people of the Zhonglei tribe saw Lei Quan in such a disheveled state, they were all dumbfounded. That was Lei Quan, who had already entered the 4th level of the realm. "If this is all you've got, then this battle should end here," Liu Feng said calmly, his hands clasped around his sword. "Hee hee." A forced, ugly smile appeared on Lei Quan's face, and his narrowed eyes were filled with intense killing intent. Damn it! I was planning to save it for the third level, but now I have to use it on you ahead of time. You should be satisfied to die from this move. As soon as he finished speaking, the black mist in the sky above Lei Quan was suddenly dispersed, and an extremely violent energy fluctuation was brewing within it. Chapter 109 Thunder Spirit. A torrent of violent lightning power poured out from the crack in the sky, bursting forth with dazzling flashes of light. Boom! Countless bolts of lightning struck behind Lei Quan, and then, the power of lightning in the sky rapidly condensed at a visible speed, transforming into a huge humanoid phantom. This is... Upon seeing this scene, the young experts of the Thunderfall tribe all changed their expressions, their eyes filled with shock. However, this shock quickly turned into joy. It's Thunder Spirit. Boss has summoned the Thunder Spirit. We're guaranteed to win now. When the Thunder Spirit descends, all things perish. That Yinglong is doomed. Boom. The giant phantom was 10 zhong tall, wielding a thunderhammer. Purple-black lightning arcs danced wildly across its body, emanating waves of extremely destructive power that even distorted space itself. What a powerful aura! Ji Lai and the others also stared solemnly at the enormous Thunder Spirit gathering behind Lei Quan, their eyes filled with tension. Lei Ling. Compared to the enormous Thunder Spirit, Liu Feng's figure appeared like a small boat on a vast ocean, seemingly on the verge of capsizing. From the Thunder Spirit, wisps of immense energy continuously emanated, crushing and exploding the surrounding air. Thump thump. The earth shook violently, and the phantom of Lei Ling, whose body was as large as a small mountain, took heavy steps, approaching Liu Feng like Mount Tai pressing down. Before my Thunder Spirit, all methods are useless. Just obediently accept your death. Lei Quan, standing some distance away, was pale-faced, but couldn't hide the ferocious smile on his face. This move had taken a heavy toll on him, and he would never use it unless absolutely necessary. However, Liu Feng's power forced him to exhaust all his true energy to summon the Thunder Spirit. Otherwise, he would have been defeated by Liu Feng's sword. In his view, as long as he could defeat Liu Feng here, everything would be worthwhile, and the loss of this amount of true energy was nothing. It's just a death throes. Liu Feng murmured something, and then, under the gaze of countless eyes, he slowly stretched out his hands, and then, streams of cyan magic power condensed in his palms. The magic was compressed and concentrated, bursting out with a dazzling light. The energy inside also became increasingly violent during this compression process. Wow. The magic power in Liu Feng's hand suddenly scattered, but it did not dissipate. Instead, it floated in the air in wisps and strands. What is that? Liu Feng's actions were clearly seen by the young experts from both sides, and when everyone saw the strands of hair appearing at the other's fingertips, astonishment appeared in their eyes. It's just a trivial skill, not worth mentioning. Lei Quan didn't take Liu Feng's moves seriously at all. In the face of absolute power, any technique is useless. It would be too naive to think that he could break through his Thunder Spirit with these unorthodox methods. Lei Ling, kill this brat. As Lei Quan finished speaking, the enormous figure in the light and shadow paused slightly, and its emotionless thunderous eyes locked onto Liu Feng's location. Bang! With a stomp that shattered the ground, Lei Ling's massive figure leaped into the air, its speed increasing dramatically. It then swung its enormous fist and smashed it out in a furious attack. Boom! Its massive body, large enough to blot out the sky, shot out with tremendous force, causing the entire world to tremble. An extremely violent pressure enveloped Liu Feng within a 100-meter radius almost instantly. At this moment, he took a deep breath, and then his eyes suddenly sharpened. With a flick of his hand, his long, flowing black hair, like willow ribbons, enveloped the rapidly approaching giant shadow. Magic threads, bind me! The black hair broke free from Liu Feng's control and then swept over Lei Ling in a massive wave, deftly passing over the heavy body and binding it. It's no use, those little tricks won't work on a Thunder Spirit like me. Lei Quan sneered, but what happened next made him stop laughing. A violent burst of lightning erupted from the giant shadow, striking the strands of green hair. However, to everyone's astonishment, the seemingly indestructible lightning could not destroy those incredibly fine strands of hair in one strike. How is that possible? Lei Quan's expression, which had been so confident, changed drastically almost instantly. "It's time to end this." Liu Feng's eyes were indifferent. His figure suddenly sprang up, and a burst of blue light surged from his right arm, transmitting a series of earth-shattering dragon roars that resounded throughout the heavens and earth. "The dragon shakes the universe." A phantom image of a true dragon was imprinted on the fist, and an extremely powerful wave spread out in all directions. Bang! Entangled by the magic of the green silk, Lei Ling's movements were restricted, and she had no time to dodge. That extremely terrifying fist suddenly slammed into the chest of the huge light and shadow. "Hold head high." A phantom image of a true dragon pierced through Lei Ling's back, leaving a crack tens of meters deep in the ground behind him. Glug! Ji Lai swallowed hard. The battle scene was extremely shocking. Its intensity was beyond what he could do to help Mang. Even the surrounding space was filled with a breathtaking ferocity. Click! A tiny crack appeared on Lei Ling's chest, and then more cracks appeared, densely covering the entire body of the giant shadow. Liu Feng withdrew his fist and gently tapped Lei Ling's chest with his middle finger. Immediately, a series of loud noises erupted, and the enormous figure was reduced to fragments and vanished into nothingness in just a moment. "How so?" The people of the Thunderfall tribe all turned pale and stared at Liu Feng in horror. Lei Quan had even summoned the Thunder Spirit, yet he was still defeated by this person. Just how terrifying was this person's strength? When these words came from the mouths of the Zhonglei tribe, they also echoed in Lei Quan's heart. His Thunder Spirit had been broken, a first in his life. Even when facing those princes, he hadn't believed they could break his attack. Yet, the reality before him forced him to believe it. Immediately, an expression of disbelief appeared on his, Zhengning, ferocious/hideous, face. "Impossible!" This shock only flashed across Lei Quan's face for a moment before being replaced by an even more ferocious expression. He absolutely could not believe that his current strength, which allowed him to unleash this ultimate move, could be countered by Liu Feng, who was only at the second level. "Prepare to die." Enrage filled Lei Quan's mind. At this moment, he had only one thought in his mind, to tear Liu Feng to shreds and cut him into 8 pieces. However, given his current condition, how could he possibly do that? Before anyone knew it, Liu Feng had appeared behind Lei Quan. With a flash of sword light, he easily pierced the latter's heart. "You!" Lei Quan turned around, his eyes wide open, and then collapsed to the ground with a thud. "The boss is dead." The people of the Zhonglei tribe looked at each other in dismay. They never expected that their attempt to ambush the Longchui tribe would end like this. This was something they had not anticipated. Even Lei Quan, who was already lying on the ground, probably did not expect this outcome. Liu Feng also turned his attention to the location of the Zhonglei tribe. "Let's run away." A young man took a few steps back. "Escape will surely mean death. Why don't we form a fire dragon battle formation? Then we might have a chance to fight." A woman in red stepped forward and said resolutely, "That's right, let's give it a shot. Fight to the death, never retreat." Looking at the Thunderfall tribe's team, Liu Feng was amazed by their unity. The fact that they could still fight with such fighting spirit even after being eliminated by Thunderspring showed that these people had a very strong will. "All right then, I won't kill you," Liu Feng suddenly said with a smile. "As long as you let us into the second level, I will not pursue the matter." "Is this really true?" the woman in red asked, somewhat astonished. Lei Quan pushed the Dragon Hammer tribe so hard, it's indeed hard to believe they're letting them go now. Liu Feng didn't want to waste time. "I'll give you 10 breaths to consider." "We agree." Without any hesitation, the woman in red agreed. They were not like Lei Quan, who insisted on fighting the Dragon Hammer tribe to the death. Their next task was to find the quest item to enter the second level and obtain better trial results. After saying this, the people from the Zhonglei tribe clasped their fists in greeting to Liu Feng and then left immediately. After the crowd had left, Ji Lai walked over, frowning, and asked, "Why did you let them go?" The Dragon Hammer and Thunderfall tribes were sworn enemies. In his opinion, he should take action to wipe out the Thunderfall tribe, not giving them any chance, and avenge the arrow that struck them during the last trial. "No need," Liu Feng shook his head. "The road ahead will become increasingly difficult. We must conserve our strength, otherwise it will be hard to reach the third level." Without waiting for Ji Lai to speak, Liu Feng directly embedded the crystal core into the groove of the door. The vortex in the door suddenly dispersed, and with a swift movement, he leaped into it. Chapter 110: The Strange Man. The Holy Land has 3 levels, each deeper underground than the last, and each level is much more expansive than the previous one. After Liu Feng and his group entered the second level, they felt that the temperature around them had dropped considerably. Liu Feng looked up and found that the black mist that had been hanging in the air had disappeared. Instead, a dark stone wall appeared high in the sky, riddled with holes and filled with countless caves and stalagmites. The ground was a primeval forest, filled with tall, nameless ancient trees, low shrubs, and unidentified wild grasses. The entire forest was shrouded in a thin layer of black mist, which stung the skin and gave off an eerie and sinister feeling. "This place is too eerie, everyone be careful." For some reason, from the moment he stepped into this world, Liu Feng felt a vague unease, as if some monstrous beast was lurking in the endless darkness. Ji Lai and the others all nodded with solemn expressions. Anyone with eyes could see the eeriness of this place at a glance. Pushing aside the vines blocking their path, the group walked through the vast forest. Many trees on the ground, perhaps due to their long period of darkness, emitted a faint glow, and some unknown minerals on the ground also emitted varying degrees of light. Thus, this second sacred ground wasn't truly pitch black. They could still see quite a bit in the distance. However, the feeling was vastly different from before. The surroundings felt much colder and darker. Coupled with the occasional gusts of black mist and cold wind, it gave them an even more chilling feeling. Ji Lai said, "The task item for the second trial is called the Root of Earthly Een, which is the root of a spiritual tree called the 9 Dragons Earthly Een Tree. The root of Een can only grow in extremely cold and Een places. It contains a very strong Een energy and is of little use. It is merely an item used for trials." Stop. Suddenly, Liu Feng, who was walking at the front of the group, frowned and stopped. "What's wrong?" Ji Lai and the others behind him all changed their expressions and became wary. Liu Feng raised his hand and took out a luminous pearl. With a flick of his finger, the luminous pearl turned into a beam of light and rushed forward. However, after only a moment, the luminous pearl exploded. Roar! With a roar, a huge black shadow suddenly flashed out from directly in front of them. Before anyone could see what the shadow looked like, a blood-red claw reached out and grabbed at them. Liu Feng reacted swiftly, his sword moving with lightning speed. Before the claws could even touch him, his sword had already pierced the head of the dark figure. Bang! The dark figure crashed to the ground, and the crowd gathered around, finally seeing its true form. The figure was humanoid, with a ferocious expression, but its entire body was grayish-brown, its shriveled flesh crumpled and decaying, resembling a zombie, but not an ordinary one. It was more than 10 times larger. "It was just a zombie," Ji Lai and the others breathed a sigh of relief, looking at the motionless Liu Feng. "Let's continue forward. The second layer of the Holy Land is extremely vast. This zombie's combat power is ordinary and it is not a threat. It is estimated that there will be more dangers later on," etc. Liu Feng's gaze was like a sword, shooting into the darkness in the distance. "What's wrong?" everyone asked, puzzled. "Rustle." A rustling sound came from afar and grew closer, blurring the surrounding area, and even the black wind blowing by seemed to grow colder. Ji Lai and the others were a little confused. Just as they were about to ask something, countless dark red dots suddenly appeared from all directions and quickly moved toward the crowd. "Oh no, they're bloodthirsty ants." Ji Lai's expression suddenly changed. Bloodthirsty ants are a type of spirit-level demonic beast. Although they are physically weak, their numbers are terrifying. They love to devour the flesh and blood of all living beings, even their true energy. Once trapped in a swarm of bloodthirsty ants, even a peak swordsman would likely find it difficult to survive and would only face certain death. "Run!" Without hesitation, Liu Feng shouted at the crowd, then swung his sword, the sword energy sweeping the ant swarm into the sky like a tornado. He then turned and ran without the slightest hesitation. Even the smallest swarm of bloodthirsty ants numbers in the thousands. A single sword strike can kill at most a dozen or so, which is just a drop in the ocean compared to the massive swarm, resulting in minimal losses. Sure enough, within the crimson light clusters were countless tiny, thumb-sized creatures, their bodies blood-red but adorned with rings of black patterns, looking extremely ferocious and menacing. Judging from the dense, countless points of light in the distance, there were easily over 10,000 of them, an astonishing number. Liu Feng chuckled self-deprecatingly. It seemed that his decision to escape was wise. Tens of thousands of bloodthirsty ants, even if they sent 10 times more people, they wouldn't be enough to kill them. As they fled, the group continuously launched attacks behind them, which exploded in the ant swarm. However, these attacks had no effect whatsoever. Instead, they enraged the bloodthirsty ants behind them, who pursued them even more relentlessly. In the end, it was only by Liu Feng detonating 2 low-grade magic weapons that the ant swarm was temporarily held off. Taking advantage of this opportunity, they each swallowed pills to accelerate at full speed and finally escaped the pursuit. Stop. After running for half an hour, Liu Feng saw that the ant swarm behind him had been completely shaken off, and then he called the others to stop. Not far ahead, a towering tree, about 50 feet tall, suddenly appeared, its canopy extending directly into the cave above, seemingly reaching the first level. Beneath the tree, the black mist permeating the earth seemed even denser, and the chilling winds blowing through it penetrated to the bone, sending shivers down one's spine. Before them lay a river about 3 zhang wide, its surface bubbling with streams of crimson blood. Beside the pool lay the corpses of a dozen or so demonic beasts of varying sizes, each pierced through by a sharp stone spike. The blood flowing from these corpses was gushing into the river, the stench of blood overwhelming and making one want to vomit. Liu Feng's mind stirred, and after carefully observing the demonic beasts, he said in surprise, "These demonic beasts must have died within the last 3 days. He must have died not long ago, otherwise his blood would have congealed." Ji Lai nodded after taking a closer look, agreeing with Liu Feng's idea. Judging from the way these monsters died, they were all killed by humans, which means that someone had already entered this area before them. A glint flashed in Liu Feng's eyes, and then he leaped across the blood river and into the primeval forest. At this moment, in the heart of the dense forest, several figures stood in a sorry state, covered in blood, seemingly suffering from serious injuries. Beside them stood a man and a woman. The man resembled a dwarf, his appearance largely similar to that of an ordinary person, except for his pointed ears, which were much longer than those of a normal person. The woman wore a green robe that covered her slender figure. She was quite tall, and her only distinguishing feature was a fluffy tail that constantly swept up and down behind her. Among the 5 people surrounded, the leader was a handsome young man, none other than Zhu Li, the heir of the desolate king. Among the others, Princess Ling Yun was also present. "Who exactly are you people?" Zhu Li's eyes were filled with fear. The 2 people in front of him were incredibly strong. Even with the 5 of them working together, they couldn't even withstand one of them. The most horrifying thing was that someone in their team had just been killed. Not eliminated, but killed outright, their heart ripped out while they were still alive. This horrific situation far exceeded their psychological limits, making it difficult for them to accept. Wasn't this just a Holy Land trial? Why had they actually perished? "Hee hee," the woman in green chuckled, a smile that was incredibly beautiful and captivating. However, to Zhu Li and the others, it seemed like the smile of death itself. This woman was absolutely a devil. Just moments ago, she had swallowed the hearts of 2 of their teammates whole, and with an expression of pure enjoyment on her face, it was utterly terrifying. "We finally got a chance to get out and about, so naturally we had to try some delicious food. But Xian Yi wouldn't let us out, so we had no choice but to stretch our muscles on the 2nd floor. Being in this godforsaken place, you can only follow his orders. So meeting us is just your bad luck. Don't struggle, just stand there obediently. I'll enjoy you." The woman in green licked her lips and smiled sinisterly. The dwarf beside him stared intently at Chu Lingyun's delicate body, his eyes gleaming with lust. He swallowed hard. "I haven't touched a woman in ages. Everyone else is yours, but this chick is mine." "No problem." The woman glanced at the dwarf with some disgust, but still readily agreed. There were 4 people on the field, and she could have 3 of them. It wasn't a bad deal. Seeing that the short, strange man was about to make a move, Zhu Li quickly said, "Wait." The short, strange man scoffed. "Are you afraid of dying?" "Of course not." Zhu Li took a deep breath. "You just said you were acting on Xian Ye's orders? Then you can't kill me, I'm his son." "Oh, you're that Prince Zhu Li." The woman in green frowned slightly and asked. Exactly. Zhu Li was overjoyed. The two exchanged a glance, then nodded. Then you can leave. Xian Yi did indeed order that your life be spared. That's great. Zhu Li's face lit up with joy, and the gloom that had been weighing on her heart just moments before was instantly swept away. Your Highness, then we. The other three princes also looked at Zhu Li with some longing. They also wanted to live, but did not want to die here. Zhu Li frowned, about to speak, but was coldly interrupted by the woman in green. Still trying to push your luck? You have 10 seconds to get out of here, or even if you are Xian Ye's son, we will kill you without hesitation. Senior, you're mistaken. I just wanted to say thank you, Zhu Li said through gritted teeth to the others after being startled. Good luck to you all. After saying that, he ran off in one direction and disappeared in an instant. Only the three princes and Princess Ling Yun remained on the scene. Damn it, why did the trial turn out like this? The Prince of Xiling gritted his teeth, his heart filled with resentment. He never expected to die in his own clan's sacred ground today. He had never encountered such a situation in 1,000 years. Chu Lingyun's beautiful eyes flashed coldly as she said, Didn't you hear what that woman said? This is Xian Ye's order. He wants to kill us all. Upon hearing this, the other princes were also stunned, and then they were so angry that they beat their chests and stamped their feet. They believed that they had no grudge against Xian Yi, so why would he do this? Did he not fear offending the feudal lords and tribes outside? You've had your share of life and death. It's time to send you on your way. The short, strange man grinned, a hint of ferocity in his eyes. Call out. However, at that moment, a whooshing sound suddenly rang out not far away, and then a blue figure came into everyone's view. Ha! Someone's here. The newcomer's face showed a hint of surprise. Chapter 111 All-Out Battle. Liu Feng, is that you? Chu Lingyun's pretty face changed abruptly after she saw the figure clearly. Another kid coming to his death. The dwarf said dismissively after sensing the mere second-tier power emanating from Liu Feng. It's you. Liu Feng was also very surprised. He obviously did not expect that the group that entered this place before them was actually the royal city's troops. However, what puzzled him was why Zhu Li was not among this group. The dwarf sneered, Boy, let's talk about catching up when we get to the underworld. As soon as he finished speaking, the dwarf raised his hand and charged forward in a frenzy, a bloodthirsty glint in his eyes. A strange light flashed in Liu Feng's eyes when he saw the dwarf who attacked without saying a word. These humans looked very different from them. Could they be of a different race? However, the current situation did not allow him to think too much. The aura emanating from the dwarf in front of him was as unfathomable as the ocean, and the power of his true energy far surpassed that of any opponent he had encountered before. Not daring to be negligent, Liu Feng clenched his fist, and a dragon-shaped phantom appeared on his arm, swelling in the wind and carrying a monstrous dragon might as he forcefully clashed with it. Bang! A violent shockwave rippled through the air, the dragon's shadow exploded, and Liu Feng was sent flying backward. He crashed into several large trees before barely managing to regain his footing, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. He's still alive. A look of surprise appeared in the dwarf's eyes. This punch of his would have killed even an ordinary third-tier swordsman, and even a fourth-tier swordsman would have been seriously injured and rendered unable to fight. Yet this mere second-tier youth seemed to have suffered no serious injuries, which greatly surprised him. Amon, what are you doing? You can't even handle a little guy. Do you need me to help you? The woman in green said impatiently when she saw that Liu Feng was still alive. The dwarf named Amon just smiled sinisterly. Don't worry, I was just testing this kid. I didn't expect him to have a little bit of strength. I won't hold back now, he's dead. I hope so, the woman in green said coldly. I'll give you 5 minutes to deal with him. After saying that, she turned her gaze to Ling Yun and the others. As for these 4 people, I'll take care of them for you first. Upon hearing this, Ling Yun and the others' expressions changed. The green-clad woman's strength far surpassed theirs. If she were to attack them, even if they joined forces, they probably wouldn't last long. Just then, a series of sharp whistling sounds echoed through the dense forest once more, and figures appeared one after another. It was Ji Lai and his group who had arrived, appearing around Ling Yun and the others. Ji Lai, you still have so many people. Seeing the continuous stream of figures appearing, the Prince of Shiling's expression changed. They had lost half their men along the way, but the Dragon Hammer tribe seemed unscathed. This was truly strange. Could it be that the Dragon Hammer tribe's overall strength was even greater than theirs? Of course, they didn't know that Liu Feng had almost single-handedly resolved all the crises that the Dragon Hammer tribe had encountered. The others hadn't been of much help, so there was no loss of resources. Stop talking nonsense. Quickly enter my Fire Dragon formation and face the formidable enemy. As soon as they finished speaking, the group joined the battle formation formed by the Dragon Hammer tribe without hesitation. The woman in green didn't rush to attack. Instead, she smiled and said, "Forming an array, huh? That's interesting. Fine, I'll play with you a little longer. Killing you all at once would be too boring." After saying that, the woman lightly touched the ground with her toes and disappeared from the spot like a ghost. When she reappeared, she was already in the air above the dragon's tail, and she slammed down with her palm. Buzz. A layer of energy shield suddenly appeared on the dragon's tail, firmly protecting the figures of the group, making it airtight. Bang! The palm of light slammed down on the fiery red light shield, creating ripples. The violent energy fluctuations were directly distributed to everyone, causing each person's body to tremble slightly and their face to turn pale. "Let's see how many times you can stop me." The woman in green was also toying with everyone and didn't intend to go all out. Instead, she planned to slowly deplete Ji Lai and the others' true energy and kill them one by one. On the other side, the dwarf Amon grinned at Liu Feng a few times, clenched his fist, and unleashed a torrent of true energy, which sparked intensely as it rubbed against his fist. Boom! A violent gust of wind tore through space, creating a series of explosive sounds. In that instant, Amon's body shot out, his fist moving with incredible speed, leaving behind numerous afterimages and containing terrifying power. A solemn expression crossed Liu Feng's face. He poured immense magical power into his right arm, and a dragon's roar resounded. A phantom of a true dragon seemed to break free from the restraints of his fist, becoming incredibly violent. Bang! The two collided violently. The illusory dragon only held on for a moment before being broken down, turning into a shower of light and dissipating. Click! A tremendous force was transmitted directly to Liu Feng's arm, causing his right arm to twist slightly. With a cracking sound of bones breaking, he was sent flying backward, crashing into more than a dozen trees before embedding himself heavily in the mountain wall, his body covered in blood. "Ha ha, die!" A cruel smile played on Amon's face. Without pausing for a moment, he threw another punch, intending to kill Liu Feng instantly. Seeing this scene, Ji Lai and the others nearby couldn't help but show despair on their faces. If Liu Feng were to be defeated, they would have no chance of survival either. Under the attack of these two fifth-level experts, a single blow would probably be enough to break through their Fire Dragon battle formation. However, just as they were in despair, a loud bang suddenly erupted between heaven and earth, and the entire earth trembled violently at that moment. Boom! The mountain wall where Liu Feng stood suddenly exploded, and an astonishing burst of blood-red light shot into the sky. Liu Feng was shrouded in a layer of blood mist, and cracks appeared on every inch of his skin. Streams of blood-red light emerged from the cracks, incredibly dense, like magma from underground, and exceptionally conspicuous. These streams of blood-red light, after erupting from his body, were immediately transformed into demonic power and accumulated within him. Boom! A near-violent and powerful magical force, like a tidal wave, swept out of Liu Feng's body in waves. Its power was almost comparable to that of the dwarf Amon. Bang! With a single punch, Liu Feng easily deflected Amon's attack. He then threw a counterpunch, this time unleashing an overwhelming surge of magical power. A dragon shadow, twice the size of the previous one, appeared and slammed into the dwarf's chest. Puff! Caught off guard, Amon was struck by the dragon shadow without any doubt, spitting out a mouthful of blood and flying backward, crashing into the ground and creating a deep crater. The woman in green, not far away, was also drawn by the loud noise coming from Liu Feng's direction, and a look of shock immediately appeared in her eyes. Although the dwarf Amon was not as fast as her, he was stronger. She never expected that in this head-on confrontation, he would be beaten so badly by Liu Feng. It's actually the blood demon reincarnation technique. Ji Lai and the others clearly recognized the Dragon Hammer tribe's supreme secret technique. It wasn't that they hadn't tried to cultivate it, but without exception, they all failed to even begin. Cultivating this secret technique was simply too difficult, requiring extremely strong comprehension and endurance. Who would have thought that Liu Feng would actually succeed in cultivating this secret technique? Just how many more surprises can this guy give us? Chu Lingyun's beautiful eyes also showed a complicated look after she caught sight of Liu Feng's body, which resembled a blood-red azura. Chapter 112. The Sword Moves with the Heart. This is truly beyond my expectations. Suddenly, a hand emerged from the deep, human-shaped pit and gripped the ground tightly. Immediately afterward, a dark shadow burst forth and landed in front of Liu Feng. Eamon wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, his gaze fixed on the imposing Liu Feng ahead. Deep within his eyes, however, grew an increasingly intense killing intent. Liu Feng had originally been nothing more than a tiny ant in his eyes, but this tiny ant had actually bitten him, a profound and unbearable humiliation. The more surprising Liu Feng's strength was, the stronger his killing intent became. With only a second-tier cultivation level, he had surprised him time and time again. If he didn't eliminate this enemy with such potential in time, he would definitely be no match for him if he came back to take revenge in the future. You've managed to push me to this point. You should be proud of yourself. But no matter what tricks you use today, you're doomed. Eamon's eyes turned cold, and the vast true energy within his body roared out without reservation. With a flick of his hand, a jet-black bolong hammer appeared in his hand, containing explosive power. The next moment, the air exploded, and the huge hammer shadow, carrying an aura as heavy as a mountain, slammed out. With a single strike of the hammer, mountains and rivers roared, and the earth trembled. Clearly, Eamon was serious and was giving it his all, determined to fight Liu Feng to the death. The woman in green smiled coldly. She could tell that Liu Feng had used some kind of secret technique to temporarily improve to his current level. However, such secret techniques often had a time limit. Once the improvement period was over, that would be Liu Feng's death day. Faced with this earth-shattering attack, Liu Feng remained fearless. He clenched his fist, and the demon-slaying sword appeared out of thin air. He met the attack with a seemingly slow but actually fast and steady stance, striking the fierce bolong hammer with his sword. The sword light, condensed to its extreme, exploded, invisibly dissipating most of the hammer's force. As he deflected the bolong hammer, Liu Feng unleashed an unusually fierce force with his left fist, slamming it out violently. Snort! Eamon snorted coldly, and a layer of black light membrane immediately appeared in front of him. His domineering fist slammed heavily onto the light membrane, and a violent wave suddenly swept out, forcing the two of them back. However, after only a brief separation, the two clashed again in an extremely violent manner. An invisible force swept the surrounding rubble into the air, raising dust everywhere. Liu Feng moved with lightning speed, leaping into the air. His sword flashed nimbly, skillfully avoiding the black light membrane, and stabbed directly at the opponent's neck from an unbelievable angle. This unexpected attack caused Eamon's expression to change. Without any hesitation, he reached out and gripped the sword. Hiss! The sword sliced through the palm, stopping abruptly just an inch from the neck, suppressed by a powerful force, unable to advance any further. Drink! With a loud shout, a tremendous force was transmitted from the sword to Liu Feng's hand, causing the latter's arm to tremble. However, he still managed to grip the hilt tightly and did not let go. Buzzing! The demon-slaying sword continuously emitted a humming sound, and as the two poured their true energy and magic power into it, the frequency of this vibration increased. Clearly, Eamon was attempting to deplete Liu Feng's magic power by competing in true energy. Because Liu Feng only has a second-tier cultivation level, he naturally cannot compare with Eamon, who is at the 5th tier. This contest of true energy, which seems to be evenly matched, is actually very disadvantageous to Liu Feng. However, at such a moment, no one can stop the infusion of energy, because if they stop, they will suffer a strong backlash of true energy, which is very dangerous. Kid, let's see how long you can last. A triumphant smile appeared on Eamon's face. He naturally welcomed this kind of fighting style that tested true energy. He believed that Liu Feng would run out of true energy and be seriously injured by him in less than the time it takes to drink a cup of tea. Faced with this predicament, Liu Feng remained calm and collected. He suddenly withdrew his sword, seemingly intending to abandon it. Clang! Without its master's control, the demon-slaying sword was instantly sent flying, bouncing more than 10 meters away before embedding itself in the ground. Call out! Just as the demon-slaying sword left his hand, a light suddenly surged in Liu Feng's eyes. He then brought his sword fingers together and unleashed a torrent of sword energy that instantly enveloped Eamon's vital points. Sizzle! One after another, streaks of azure sword energy appeared, overwhelming everything. Each sword energy was filled with an exceptionally fierce fluctuation. The sword energy tore through the void, leaving a white trail in the air, as if in a vacuum. Seeing the dense array of sword energy enveloping him, Eamon couldn't retreat in time and hurriedly raised his hammer to block. Ding ding ding! Sword energy rained down, striking the bolong hammer with frenzied force. A crisp metallic clang rang out, and sparks flew, making the onlookers' hearts pound with fear. Eamon's body was also moved backward at a visible speed under the violent impact of the endless sword energy, leaving a deep mark on the ground until it stopped 100 meters away. The storm abruptly stopped. Liu Feng waved his hand, and the demon-slaying sword flew back into his hand. Gripping the hilt, his eyes suddenly flashed with a chilling, fearful light, filled with utter despair, as he unleashed a powerful slash. The impact of the despairing aura on a ruthless powerhouse like Eamon was negligible. However, even so, Liu Feng still surpassed his opponent in terms of momentum. This sword strike not only contained the aura of despair, but also Liu Feng's eagerness to kill. Clang! The sword and hammer clashed again, and the residual force of the collision directly caused the earth to crack, with dense cracks spreading out like a spider web, extending over 100 meters away. Eamon was once again sent flying, crashing heavily into a small rocky hill behind him, shattering the entire hill into pieces and causing it to collapse. Is it resolved? The scene was silent. Ji Lai and the others stared in astonishment at the small mountain of rubble that had been smashed into pieces, their eyes filled with disbelief. Hee, it's not that simple. The woman in green chuckled, but a hint of coldness flashed in her eyes. Bang! Debris flew everywhere, dust billowed, and a figure slowly emerged from the smoke, his face filled with overwhelming killing intent. That attack had caused his blood to surge violently, almost making him spit out blood. If it weren't for his strong physical defenses, that single blow would have been enough to severely injure him. Damn it! How come a mere second-tier kid is so troublesome? At this moment, Eamon felt a surge of rage in his chest. As the overlord of this second layer of the world, when had he ever felt so aggrieved? And the object of his frustration was just a brat who hadn't even grown his hair yet, but he possessed combat power that surpassed his own. Even if this combat power was only temporary, his cultivation level was 3 levels higher than the other parties. This is a disgrace. Only killing Liu Feng on the spot can wash away this disgrace. You've completely enraged me. Eamon stepped forward, his face icy cold, uttering chilling words. The only consequence of angering me is to pay with your life. Liu Feng's gaze also turned to the dwarf in front of him at this moment, and then his gaze lingered on the latter's forehead, where an extremely mysterious and obscure rune was flashing with a dazzling light. Therefore, as soon as the rune appeared, it was noticed by many people, and immediately, a series of shocked voices rang out. This is a mark of inheritance. Chapter 113 Sword Intent. The term inheritance mark was one that Liu Feng had heard of before, but only in ancient texts. According to records, only powerful cultivators at the high-level sword master stage or above had a chance to condense such a mark after death. This mark contained most of the vital essence within the cultivator's body during their lifetime, making it extremely rare. Obtaining it was equivalent to obtaining the cultivator's vital essence, which would greatly benefit future cultivation. Once this mark is preserved, it will not easily dissipate and will hide itself, making it difficult to detect. It will only appear automatically after it finds a true inheritor. Generally, only those with high talent have the opportunity to obtain the inherited mark. However, talent is not the only determining factor. Factors such as soul compatibility and martial arts techniques are also considered. Such things, which can only be condensed by experts at the high-level sword master level or above, are extremely rare on the continent. After all, in this era, There are no more sword kings on the entire snow continent, and the highest level of cultivation is only at the peak sword master level. Therefore, it is conceivable that the number of inheritance marks that can be born is definitely very limited. The mark contains an extremely large and pure essence. This essence will gradually and completely integrate into the body as the owner's strength increases. The cultivation speed of people who possess the inheritance mark is much faster than that of ordinary people. In addition, in some critical moments, they can also activate the power of the mark to temporarily enhance their own strength, resist powerful enemies, and overcome dangerous situations. When Liu Feng first saw the inheritance mark, he was also shocked. He was not surprised by the strength the other party displayed, but by the heaven-defying luck and opportunity to obtain such a rare divine object. The probability of this was simply miraculous. Even the inheritance mark was forced out. This battle should come to an end. Not far away, the woman in green smiled slightly. She knew that Aemon valued this inheritance mark more than his own life, and would not use it unless it was a matter of life and death. But now that it had been brought out, bloodshed was inevitable. The members of the desolate clan were all ashen-faced. Liu Feng had given them a glimmer of hope, but that hope was short-lived, shattered by the appearance of the inheritance mark before them. It seems they are all destined to perish here today. Tell me, what kind of death should I give you? Aemon patted the dust off his somewhat torn clothes. He looked disheveled and miserable, which made the killing intent in his eyes surge rapidly. Then he smiled, a smile full of endless chill. The mark of inheritance is nothing but an inanimate object. Do you really think that victory or defeat can be decided by an inanimate object? A gentle breeze blew by, causing Liu Feng's light blue robes to flutter. There was not a trace of fear on his face, as if even if the sky were to fall, it could not subdue him. This is the swordsman, Liu Feng. He was like a peerless sword. No matter what difficulties or crises he faced, he could not bend, and he could not even be forced to take a single step back. Innate pride, innate sharpness, innate swordsman's heart. Let's see how long you can keep up this stubbornness. When I trample you under my feet, you'll realize just how foolish your ideas were. Aemon grinned, his face contorted with a maniacal smile, and began to stride towards Liu Feng. His pace wasn't fast. He simply wanted to savor the feeling of crushing his opponent, a mental blow, a crushing blow to the will. However, Liu Feng's eyes remained completely calm. Then, a sword aura seemed to rapidly expand, bursting forth and tearing through the void. A clear, resonant voice suddenly rang out from Liu Feng's mouth, echoing throughout the heavens and earth. The sword shines brightly in the sky, illuminating the moon. My heart is as cold as ice, and the sword as white as snow. Suddenly, an unnamed aura rose from Liu Feng's body. As soon as this aura appeared, he changed completely. If Liu Feng had only drawn half of his peerless sword before, now it was fully drawn, and his aura was sharp and unreserved. It corrupts my heart and breaks my sword, cleaving the clouds and severing the blue sky. As soon as he finished speaking, Liu Feng took a step forward, and an unnamed powerful aura swept out from his body in an instant. Buzzing. Ji Lai and the others stared in disbelief at Liu Feng, who seemed to have been reborn, when suddenly they felt the swords in their hands begin to tremble violently, as if they were about to slip from their grasp. Clang! More than a dozen swords and blades shot into the sky, breaking free from the control of Ji Lai and the others, and fell from the sky, landing around Liu Feng and merging into his nameless aura. All the swords and blades seemed to have recognized Liu Feng as their master, standing quietly around him, as if subjects had met their king, bowing their heads in submission. Across from him, Aemon's smile froze instantly, replaced by an expression of disbelief. He roared, 10,000 swords returned to one? Could this be sword intent? Impossible! Sword intent is a legendary weapon used exclusively by swordsmen in ancient times. As the saying goes, when one sword moves, 10,000 swords move in unison. Comprehending sword intent has absolutely nothing to do with one's level of cultivation. It depends entirely on one's talent. There were many genius swordsmen in ancient times who killed at the age of 5 and comprehended sword intent at the age of 7. However, times have changed, and sword intent has become something everyone dreams of. There are probably no more than 3 people on the continent who can comprehend it. Below the sword sect level, it is even more impossible for them to comprehend sword intent. Damn it, How could this happen? Eamon's face was extremely gloomy. He absolutely refused to believe that an unknown junior could comprehend the supreme sword intent, but the facts were right in front of him, leaving him no choice but to believe it. Die! With a mad glint in his eyes, Eamon unleashed several explosive sounds from within his body, wielding the bolong hammer, and charged toward Liu Feng with overwhelming force. A burst of dark light shot out from the bolong hammer, and a hideous ghost head phantom appeared on the hammer, bearing its fangs and claws. My sword and I will both return to the Yellow Springs. Under the clear sky, only one man and one sword remain, laughing proudly at the heavens and earth. The final step in condensing sword intent has been completed. The demon-slaying sword in Liu Feng's hand gradually became thinner and almost transparent, while the surrounding swords and blades fell from the sky and stuck into the ground. Call out! A white shadow moved, and a semi-transparent demon-slaying sword was swung out. In the void, all was silent. It was as if time had frozen at this moment, and the entire world had stopped turning. The sword energy, infused with sword intent, sliced through the dark air currents and terrifying ghost head phantom as easily as cutting tofu. The sword energy surged forward relentlessly, breaking through Eamon's true energy defense in the blink of an eye, and vanished in a flash from beside his neck. Bang! Behind Eamon, a tree so large that it would take two people to encircle it crashed down, sliced open by a single sword strike, the cut surface as smooth as a mirror. A spurt of blood shot out, and Eamon stood frozen in place, watching helplessly as the sword wound on his neck rapidly split open. Then, his neck snapped to the side, and a head rolled to the ground. Even in his final moments, disbelief lingered on his dead face. Dead. Chu Lingyun, Ji Lai, and the others all took a deep breath and stared at Liu Feng with complicated expressions. What kind of person is this? Such a powerful dwarf couldn't even stop Liu Feng's sword? A strange light flickered in Chu Lingyun's beautiful eyes. Liu Feng had become even more mysterious in her heart, shrouded in a hazy aura. He always seemed to appear when she was in despair, giving her hope. Even in battles where the odds were stacked against them, he could overcome adversity and achieve incredible victories under unbelievable circumstances. Liu Feng's eyes were icy cold, and his overwhelming sword intent condensed into a tangible form as he pointed the demon-slaying sword at the horrified woman in green. Whoosh! Without a word, the woman in green activated her secret technique, unleashing an astonishing aura. She turned and fled, her figure flashing like lightning, covering a great distance. In the entire dense forest, only her harsh words remained. Boy, you actually killed Eamon. Your crime is unforgivable. Your master will not let you off. If you have the guts, go into the 3rd level. Chapter 114 Undeterred and Unstoppable. Owner. The last words left by the woman in green made Liu Feng frown. Judging from what the other party said, could there be even more terrifying beings in this holy land than these two? If so, then things are going to get dangerous. Killing this dwarf was already his limit. If he encounters an even more ferocious powerhouse, even he would probably be instantly killed. Walking to the side of the dwarf Eamon, Liu Feng touched his brow with his finger, releasing a suction force. Soon after, a profound rune floated out and flew into his palm, emanating a strange aura. It was the inheritance mark. Having lost its vessel, the thing naturally had no power to resist and was easily subdued. After absorbing the inheritance mark into his body, the bloody light on Liu Feng's body quickly faded. The time limit of the blood demon reincarnation technique had expired, and the dissipation of his essence blood drained all the power from his body. Suddenly everything went black, and Liu Feng staggered, almost falling to the ground. His face paled in shock, and he took out several pills, put them in his mouth, and swallowed them. Feeling that most of the meridians in his body were nearing exhaustion and that half of the blood and qi were flowing through his body, Liu Feng couldn't help but smile bitterly. Although the blood demon rebirth technique was powerful, the price it came at was also extremely high. If he couldn't recover in time, it was very likely to leave sequelae and affect his future cultivation. Yinglong, thank you this time. Chu Lingyun and the others slowly walked to Liu Feng's side and thanked him with a hint of gratitude. If it weren't for Liu Feng and the people from the Dragon Hammer tribe arriving in time, they would probably have lost their lives here long ago. The 3 princes, including the Prince of Xiling, clasped their fists in gratitude to Liu Feng. The Prince of Xiling, in particular, looked slightly embarrassed because he had made things difficult for Liu Feng in the desolate region and even considered teaching him a lesson. He never expected that Liu Feng would save his life, and he felt ashamed. "No need to thank me, it was just a small favor." Liu Feng exhaled a breath of stale air, his complexion improving slightly. He glanced at the group and asked with some confusion, "Shouldn't you be in the same group as Prince Zhu Li? Where is he?" Liu Feng didn't think this person had been killed. After all, the other party was the strongest among these people, and as a prince, he probably had many trump cards. How could he have fallen so easily? Don't even mention that despicable man. I was so loyal to him before, but he abandoned us at the crucial moment and ran away on his own. It would have been better if he hadn't mentioned it, because the mere mention of Zhu Li ignited the anger in the heart of the Prince of Xiling. For the people of the Wilderness clan, what they valued most was not life, but dignity and courage. Zhu Li's behavior disgusted him, and now he had completely seen through this person's true colors and had no goodwill towards him whatsoever. "Oh." Liu Feng looked slightly surprised. "It seems he is quite strong. He actually managed to escape from these two fifth-tier experts. He is indeed extraordinary." At this moment, Liu Feng's opinion of Zhu Li's strength rose even higher. Even he himself had no confidence in escaping from those two before using the blood demon reincarnation technique. "Strong my ass." Before the Prince of Xiling could even speak, the burly young man next to him couldn't hold back any longer and swore, saying angrily, "He only escaped with his life because of his father's connections, otherwise he would have been dead long ago." "Relying on Xian Ye's connections? What do you mean?" Liu Feng asked in surprise. "What relationship do these two have with Xian Yi?" "Let me speak." At this moment, Chu Lingyun spoke up, telling Liu Feng the whole story, repeating exactly what Eamon and the woman in green had said. "Does that mean these two strange people are acting on Xian Ye's orders to wipe out all the trial participants in this holy land?" Liu Feng asked solemnly. "That should be the case." Chu Lingyun nodded. Liu Feng frowned, utterly shocked. This Xian Yi was indeed cunning and shrewd. He had probably anticipated that Liu Feng would start with the Holy Land to save the sacred beast, Huang, and thus devised this elaborate plan. It was truly ingenious. If Liu Feng hadn't been strong enough, anyone else would have already died at the hands of those two alien powerhouses. Doing something like this requires great courage, because if all the experts from the various tribes participating in the trial die in the sacred ground, it will inevitably cause considerable turmoil within the Wilderness clan, and some tribes might even rise up in rebellion, triggering a major war. However, compared to obtaining the Wilderness King's token and the Wilderness God's manual, these are minor issues. The Desolate God technique comprises 3 parts: the Desolate God Heart method, the Desolate God Overlord Fist, and the Desolate God Sword technique. Apart from the Desolate God Sword technique, the other 2 parts require the bloodline of the Desolate King to master. Once mastered, Xian Ye's strength will undoubtedly surge, his cultivation level will rival that of Chu Tianhen, and he will be invincible. Therefore, in Xian Ye's view, tribal rebellions were nothing more than minor ailments, not worth worrying about. As for the bloodline of the Desolate King, he could simply kill Chu Lingyun and extract her bloodline. He had raised this princess for so many years, wasn't he just waiting for this day? Liu Feng had a pretty good grasp of Xian Ye's thoughts, but he had no idea what specific moves Xian Yi would make next, so he could only be extra careful. The 3rd level of the trial below would likely be extremely difficult, and one wrong step could mean certain death. "Are you really going to go into the 3rd level in your current state? Aren't you afraid something might happen?" Chu Lingyun suddenly asked. Liu Feng just smiled and said, "Of course I'll go, but not now. When my body recovers to its peak, that will be the time to step into the 3rd level. Within this sacred place, there is only a gate leading to the 3rd level, but no exit back to the 1st level. One can only move forward relentlessly. Therefore, it is too late for anyone who wants to retreat now. If any of you wish to stay on the 2nd floor, then you may do so." "I will not force you," Liu Feng said calmly. "Everyone has their own choices. This matter concerns life and death, and Liu Feng has no intention of forcing these people to join him." "What are you talking about? Of course we'll stand with you, Yinglong." Ji Lai, Zhang Yan, and the other young men from the Dragon Hammer tribe grinned, looking completely unconcerned. "What happens next has little to do with you, so you don't need to take the risk," Liu Feng said, shaking his head. No need for further words, Yinglong. Wherever you go, we'll go. Yes, Yinglong, we're sticking with you. Don't even think about abandoning us here. The people of the Dragon Hammer tribe were all excited, and their roars rose and fell. Seeing those straightforward faces before him, Liu Feng couldn't help but smile. He hadn't realized when these people had become his most loyal comrades. The desolate clan weren't so bad after all. And you? Liu Feng glanced at Chu Lingyun and the others. I absolutely must go. It's my mission as a descendant of the desolate king, Chu Lingyun said earnestly. Is that so? A strange light flashed in Liu Feng's eyes. It seemed that the other party finally understood what he was going to do. Now that the princess is gone, we should naturally stay by her side. When the Prince of Xiling and the others saw that Chu Lingyun was going to the 3rd level, they stepped forward without hesitation. Very good, Liu Feng's eyes flashed with a sharp light. During the time I am recovering, you should go and search for the root of Yin Earth. I believe that with your strength, you should be able to find it soon. After that, we'll go straight to the 3rd level. No matter what your motives are for coming here, everyone must protect your teammates, understand? Clear. The crowd responded in unison, their eyes gleaming with fighting spirit. Chapter 115 Sealing. In the darkness. Master, we have encountered a powerful enemy. Amon has been killed. As the black light dissipated, a green figure emerged, the very same green-clad woman who had appeared on the 2nd floor that day. At this moment, a thick black mist was eerily floating in front of her, swirling around as if it possessed a spirit, like a ghost. Killed. A hoarse voice rang out amidst the surging black mist, pausing briefly before asking, What happened? With your combined strength, you couldn't even handle these little brats. The woman in green said in a trembling voice, The strength of the others is average, but there is one boy in blue who is very terrifying. He is only at the level of a 2nd-tier swordsman, but his combat power is surprisingly high. He was able to fight Amon to a standstill. In the final stage, this kid suddenly grasped the essence of swordsmanship and easily killed Amon. What sword intent? The previously calm voice vibrated for the first time, and then the black mist subsided, plunging the entire space into silence. After a long while, the hoarse voice came out again. You can even comprehend the legendary sword intent. It seems I have to take action myself. It's a pity that my true form was sealed at the bottom of the Holy Land by the 1st desolate king. Otherwise, why would I need the 2 of you to take action? Upon hearing this, the woman in green felt a surge of joy and knelt down, saying, If it is Master who personally takes action, then there will be no chance of failure. She knew all too well the power of the demon before her. Had it not expended its true essence to break through a corner of the ceiling formation, she and Amon would never have escaped. It was a pity the 1st desolate king's power was too terrifying. Otherwise, their master would never have been sealed here for 1,000 years. There's only one chance. Once we kill that brat, Xian Yi should keep his promise, break the seal, and release our clan. The hoarse voice slowly faded away, lingering in the surroundings for a long time. The Holy Land, the 2nd layer of space. Beneath the towering ancient tree, Liu Feng sat cross-legged in a tree hollow, a green light slowly flowing from his body, seeping into his body and nourishing his meridians and essence. He has been sitting here cross-legged for 7 days. During these 7 days, he has consumed and refined a large number of pills to restore his blood and qi to about 70% or 80% of their peak. However, it will take at least half a month to return to his peak condition. Essence and blood are the foundation of the human body. Unlike magic, which can be replenished by absorbing spiritual energy from the air, essence and blood can only be refined little by absorbing the life force from elixirs. Liu Feng has only recovered to about 70 to 80% thanks to the abundant essence and blood within the inheritance mark. Otherwise, it would have taken much longer. Whoosh whoosh. A series of whooshing sounds rang out, and more than a dozen figures appeared one after another outside the tree hole. It was Chu Lingyun and Ji Lai and their group. Sensing the disturbance from the outside world, Liu Feng slowly opened his tightly closed eyes. When he caught a glimpse of the joy on the faces of these people, he could guess that they had most likely found the root of Yin Earth. Brushing the dust off his clothes, Liu Feng got up and walked outside. Yinglong, we have found the root of Yin Earth. When do you plan to enter the third level? Upon seeing Liu Feng appear, Chu Lingyun didn't waste any words and went straight to the point. Let's set off now, Liu Feng said without hesitation. He wouldn't be able to use the blood demon reincarnation technique for a while. Although his blood and energy hadn't fully recovered, it wouldn't significantly affect his combat strength. It would only weaken his physical defense to some extent. However, Liu Feng wasn't known for his physical defense, so losing a little bit of defense was insignificant. The others naturally had no objections to this. After resting for a while, they set off as a group, heading towards the exit of the second floor, following the instructions of Chu Lingyun and the others. Along the way, they encountered many poisonous insects and demonic beasts, which caused a lot of trouble, but the threat was not great. Fortunately, no strong people like Eamon and the woman in green appeared after that, otherwise they would not have been able to be so carefree. 1 hour later, the group finally reached the end of the second layer of the Holy Land. What appeared before them was still a void gate, with an incomparably deep vortex slowly rotating between the gate. As the root of earthly Een was embedded into the groove beside the gate, the vortex in the void gate suddenly dissipated, opening up to everyone. Liu Feng took a step forward and stepped inside without hesitation. The others gritted their teeth and followed closely behind, disappearing between the gates. Phew! After a dizzying teleportation, when Liu Feng and the others opened their eyes again, they found themselves surrounded by a dark ocean. On the earth, countless black mists surged, and among these black mists, occasionally a few blood-red runes were interspersed, seemingly incompatible with the black mists, devouring each other. The entire world was shrouded in blood-red and darkness, resembling a hellish realm. In that darkness, the wind was extremely fierce, like countless swords fluttering, cutting the skin and causing a dull ache. Within the darkness, a great danger seemed to lurk. Liu Feng released his spiritual power, but it was all in vain. He couldn't sense any information at all. In that chilling wind, a strong, malevolent aura swept over us, as if an ancient, ferocious beast was lurking, waiting for its prey to arrive. This is the third level? How is this possible? Chu Lingyun's pretty face changed as she stared at the surging black mist around her, her beautiful eyes filled with shock. Liu Feng's expression shifted. What's wrong? Is something the problem? Of everyone present, only Chu Lingyun and a few princes had been to the third floor before, so they were the most qualified to speak on the matter. When we came here last time, this place wasn't like this at all. Chu Lingyun took a deep breath, a hint of worry appearing on her pretty face. Is that so? Liu Feng's expression also became somewhat solemn. Wasn't this place different 3 years ago? I remember now. The Prince of Xiling seemed to have thought of something as well. I once heard my grandfather talk about the origin of this sacred land of the desolate clan. Tell me about it, Liu Feng said, somewhat intrigued. The Crown Prince of Xiling nodded and said, Legend has it that 1,000 years ago, a strange race from overseas appeared on this western wilderness, invading the territory of my wilderness clan. At one point, they occupied more than half of our land, slaughtered a large number of our people, and wanted to take over this land for themselves. The leader of this strange race was named Wu Peng, who possessed unparalleled strength on the continent, and no one dared to challenge him. This predicament persisted until the appearance of a hero, which brought an end to it. This hero, in such extremely difficult circumstances, broke through the final bottleneck, entered the realm of the Supreme Sword King, and ultimately emerged from nowhere, slaying countless experts of the alien race. However, although he defeated Wu Peng, he could not completely kill him. He could only exhaust his life strength at the last moment, combining the power of the 8 strongest tribes chiefs of the Wilderness Clan to seal Wu Peng and the remaining alien race at the bottom of the abyss. However, this hero died shortly after this battle, his life force exhausted. At this point, the Prince of Xiling's face was full of reverence. That hero was the first king of our clan. His descendants have been revered as the kings of the Wilderness Clan ever since. Liu Feng was slightly surprised. He hadn't expected that such a rumor existed among the desolate clan. However, judging from the current situation, the rumor was probably true. In that case, there's probably only one explanation. Deep within this sacred land, the king of that alien race is likely being suppressed. Among the many high-ranking experts of the desolate clan, only Xian Yi is capable of altering the rules of the Holy Land. It seems that what should have been the final level of the Holy Land has been replaced by the third level of the trial. There must be some conspiracy behind this. Liu Feng's expression also became much more solemn at this moment. The endless black mist in front of him seemed to be responding to Liu Feng's thoughts, constantly sweeping up to the sky, looking just like evil runes, jumping wildly. Chapter 116: The Ultimate Illusion. Everyone suddenly realized why the dwarf and woman they had encountered earlier had such strange appearances. They were not humans from the snow continent, but rather foreigners. This so-called Holy Land is actually the place where the first desolate king suppressed the alien races. Liu Feng squatted down and grasped the black mist seeping from the ground. A strange fluctuation emanated from it. 2 aliens appeared on the second floor. Doesn't that mean those aliens have been released? Someone in the crowd suddenly said, their expression changing. Probably not. Liu Feng slowly stood up and said, if the alien race is really released, I'm afraid it won't just be 2 sword master level experts. I'm afraid even sword sect level experts will appear and wipe us out. Chu Lingyun's eyes lit up. So you mean, these 2 just escaped by accident? Perhaps so, Liu Feng said thoughtfully, but what is certain is that no higher level experts will appear. Otherwise, we would have encountered them on the second level. If I am not mistaken, the 5th rank is already the limit for breaking through the seal. As Liu Feng had predicted, releasing Aemon and the woman in green was the limit that the alien Lord Wu Peng could achieve. The higher one's cultivation level, the greater the binding force of the seal. For a powerful figure like Wu Peng, unless the seal of this holy land was completely broken, he would have absolutely no chance of escaping. Is the sacred beast wilderness located somewhere on this third level? Looking around, Liu Feng saw nothing but darkness everywhere, unable to see anything at all. Even his spiritual power was blocked, only able to reach a radius of about 10 feet. He couldn't help but sigh, realizing that he would have to search step by step. Let's go. Everyone, try to stay within about 3 zhang of me, otherwise I can't guarantee your safety, Liu Feng said, turning his head to the side. Understood. Chu Lingyun and the others nodded. Liu Feng walked at the front of the crowd, and an extremely sharp sword intent burst forth, shredding all the black energy blocking his way into nothingness. The black energy dissipated, and a passage about 2 meters wide appeared in front of him. As they stepped into the passage, the black mist on both sides, due to the sword intent, could not approach Liu Feng and was repelled at both ends. Seeing this, the others behind did not dare to hesitate and followed closely behind. Wah! Black mist surged, and gusts of eerie wind blew, sounding like the weeping of ghosts. As Liu Feng's thoughts deepened, his brows furrowed even more, and his unease seemed to grow stronger. Phew! Suddenly, the darkness ahead dissipated, revealing a dazzling line of light that rapidly expanded and filled the entire field of vision. The surrounding environment transformed into a misty, ethereal fairyland, filled with exquisite nectar and divine wine. Everywhere within this fairyland, beautiful young women clad in sheer, veiled garments, their faces flushed with desire, appeared. Upon seeing Liu Feng, these women greeted him with beaming smiles, their veils billowing in the wind, revealing their exquisite, snow-white bodies, as they rushed towards him from all directions. Upon first seeing this scene, Liu Feng was momentarily stunned. However, how could such a trick deceive his powerful mental will? Gazing at those fair and delicate bodies, Liu Feng's aura suddenly erupted, and he roared, "Sword will, slay the illusion, break!" The shout was like thunder. The beautiful young women around were shattered into pieces by this fierce shout. Soon after, the entire fairyland was torn apart and collapsed. The world around them was plunged back into darkness. An illusion. Unfortunately, it's useless to me. Liu Feng's gaze was like lightning, as if it had broken through the limitations of his eye sockets and was darting around in the void. In a dark space. It's actually unaffected by the illusion. A hoarse voice came from within the black mist, tinged with surprise. Although his illusion was created by a wisp of divine thought, it was enough to bewitch anyone below the sword sect level, but unexpectedly it had no effect on Liu Feng. This kid is no ordinary person, master. Don't treat him like a regular person, the woman in green warned from across the room. You're right, the voice from within the black mist said with a hint of seriousness, then its tone shifted sharply. However, no matter how strong his willpower is, He has absolutely no chance of breaking through this next illusion. His words were filled with boundless confidence. The environment around Liu Feng transformed and reorganized once again, the black mist dissipated, and this time the scene made the young man's heart tremble suddenly. He was now standing outside a luxurious building, magnificent and grand, with the words Yi Mansion prominently displayed on its gate. However, the Yi Mansion was currently decorated with lanterns and colorful streamers, filled with a festive atmosphere, as if preparing for some great celebration. Liener, go check if the young lady's makeup is done. The wedding procession will be here soon. In the courtyard, a woman dressed as a matchmaker instructed the maid beside her. Yes. The maid nodded and walked towards the side room behind her. Young miss. Liu Feng had a sudden thought and quietly followed her. Following behind the maid, Liu Feng walked along the bluestone path into a boudoir that exuded a delicate fragrance. The furnishings here were very elegant, simple yet tasteful. However, time seemed to stand still when he saw the beautiful figure sitting by the window. Liu Feng's expression froze for a moment as he stared blankly at the girl before him. Xian. The name that had lingered in my heart for countless days and nights was finally called out at this moment. That familiar blue figure, isn't it Yi Xian, the woman he's been longing for day and night? However, at this moment, the girl's beautiful face was covered with tears, which made Liu Feng angry. Who was it? Who could have made her so sad? Are you still thinking about that kid named Liu Feng? Stop thinking about it. He's been missing in the mine for 2 months now. He must be dead there. I advise you to give up on this idea. The speaker, with an angry expression, was none other than Yi Tianhao. No. He won't die. The girl lowered her head and sobbed, her tears falling like pearls onto her bright red dress. I have already promised the second prince that today is the wedding day. You have to marry him whether you like it or not. Yi Tianhao's anger intensified. No, I won't marry him. Even if Liu Feng dies, I will never marry anyone else. Yi Xian gritted her teeth, her gaze resolute. Upon hearing this, Yi Tianhao was furious and raised his hand to slap the other person. However, he quickly seemed to remember something, withdrew his hand, and sneered, I advise you to obediently marry him, otherwise, I can't guarantee the safety of Liu Feng's family. Their lives are now in the hands of the second prince. What? Upon hearing this, Liu Feng's face suddenly darkened, and a powerful killing intent surged forth. No one could touch his family, not even the second prince. Think it over carefully. The lives of Liu Feng's entire family are in your hands. Yi Tianhao snorted heavily and stormed out. Inside the boudoir, only Yi Xuanxuan's somewhat frail figure remained. Taking a deep breath, Liu Feng slowly walked to the girl's side, stretched out his right hand, and wanted to wipe away the tear stains at the corner of her eyes. However, at that moment, Yi Xian suddenly looked out the window into the distance, her cherry lips slightly parted, and she murmured, Don't worry, I will protect your family for you. Liu Feng's hand remained suspended in mid-air. Was he saying, protect your family? That meant, how could you marry that bastard, the second prince? Liu Feng roared, but the world around him shattered at that moment. When Liu Feng regained consciousness, he was already in another environment. This is a tranquil lakeside, with pavilions, terraces, and endless corridors. A dozen eunuchs and palace maids come into view. In the pavilion, around a round table, sit a man and a woman. The man was handsome and dressed in a bright yellow dragon robe, but he looked exactly like the second prince. The woman wore a noble phoenix robe and a golden crown, and held a newborn child in her arms. The two were chatting and laughing. Upon seeing this scene, Liu Feng froze instantly. The woman's face was so familiar. He had just seen her, yet it felt like a lifetime ago. However, she now appeared more mature. The woman smiled and asked, Your Majesty, what name should we give our daughter? The man in the dragon robe pondered for a moment, then smiled and said, Let's name her Li Xian. I hope she will be as beautiful as her mother in the future. The laughter of the men and women was very noisy, but at this moment, Liu Feng seemed to have lost his hearing and could not hear anything. All that remained in his ears was boundless silence. So this is how he ended up. Even the most unforgettable love cannot withstand the passage of time, and is gradually worn away until it is forgotten. Ha ha ha. Liu Feng suddenly laughed, but the laugh was so forced and so desolate. Humph, even the strongest-willed person has weaknesses. Just obediently wallow in my illusion. In the dark space, the hoarse voice carried a hint of coldness. He knew Liu Feng's performance in the illusion perfectly well, and believed that it wouldn't be long before he would succeed. Once he becomes immersed in this illusion of inner demons, he will never have a chance to break free. He can only struggle bitterly within it, eventually exhausting his lifespan and dying in a daze. Just as the alien Lord Wu Peng was secretly sneering, Liu Feng, who had his head down, suddenly uttered a low voice, "Is it fun to toy with other people's feelings?" "What?" A startled exclamation came from within the black mist. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, Liu Feng suddenly raised his head, and an astonishingly sharp aura shot straight into the sky. Between his eyebrows, a terrifying golden aura gathered wildly, seemingly about to break through his body and pierce through the void, forming a phantom of a vertical eye, which slowly opened. A chilling aura of danger arose spontaneously from his vertical gaze. This is the eye of the spirit. The black mist surged wildly, and a horrified voice suddenly rang out from within it. Chapter 117: The Seven Fiends Formation. Call out. Suddenly, a terrifying golden light shot out from the vertical eye, directly slamming into the illusion. Wherever it passed, all objects were annihilated, turned into nothingness, and shattered. In less than 10 breaths, the illusion shattered. As the world changed, Liu Feng returned to reality. Damn it! Not only did I fail to trap this brat, but I also helped him break through. This is infuriating. If Wu Peng's physical body were here, he would definitely be so angry that he would vomit blood. This time, he had truly lost both his wife and his army. He had wasted so much divine power without harming Liu Feng in the slightest. Instead, he helped the other party condense his spiritual eye. How could he not be furious? You brat, just you wait, things won't end so easily. Within the thick black fog, boundless rage was released, surging wildly through the space. The eye of the spirit is an eye formed from pure spiritual power. Only when spiritual power reaches a certain level can it be formed with a very small chance. Once formed, no illusion in the world can deceive this eye of the spirit. All illusions will be seen through at a glance. This is the principle behind seeing through all appearances to understand the essence of everything. In the blink of an eye, it feels like a lifetime has passed. Liu Feng couldn't help but sigh. The illusion created by that alien lord was indeed powerful, tightly gripping the weaknesses hidden in people's hearts. If he hadn't awakened at the last stage and severed the illusion, the consequences would have been unimaginable. No matter what, things will never get to that point. Liu Feng clenched his fists. The illusion, though unreal, was terrifying and could very well become reality. However, as long as he was alive, he would not allow that to happen. Even if it was the second prince, his rival, who dared to harm his beloved woman, he would pay a terrible price. Taking a deep breath, Liu Feng calmed himself down and turned his gaze to the crowd behind him. He saw that most of them had bloodshot eyes and were panting heavily, clearly trapped in the illusion and unable to extricate themselves. "Wake up!" Liu Feng infused a trace of sword intent into his shout, which, like spring thunder, resounded instantly, penetrating deep into everyone's soul. Everyone was instantly awakened. What happened? How did I get here? Where is my heavenly rank manual? It was just in my hands a moment ago. That's strange. I remember there were a lot of beautiful women around me. After everyone realized what had happened, they all looked surprised. However, they were not fools. Once they saw their surroundings, they understood what was going on. Damn it, it was all an illusion. Everything they had longed for had suddenly become a mirage, leaving Ji Lai and the others extremely disappointed. They cursed angrily, feeling very frustrated. Just then, the sea of black mist ahead suddenly surged, as if drawn by a mysterious force, splitting in two and creating a path at a speed visible to the naked eye. Boom! As the sea of black mist parted to both sides, the earth trembled violently, and cracks several meters wide appeared in the ground beneath our feet. What comes into view is an extremely ancient and vast square. There is nothing particularly special about the square, but the magnificent atmosphere it exudes makes people feel breathless. That is Liu Feng squinted at the center of the square and then noticed that there stood a tightly closed ancient bronze gate, exuding a desolate aura. With lightning speed, Liu Feng arrived in the plaza. Before him stood a bronze gate, about 4 or 5 zhang tall, embroidered with intricate and complex runes, extremely profound and difficult to understand. Apart from that, the entire plaza was empty, devoid of anything else. Creak. Before Liu Feng could think further, the bronze gate, which had been tightly closed for who knows how many years, slowly cracked open without any warning. The rest of the group rushed up behind Liu Feng at this moment, staring at the ancient gate in front of them with surprised expressions. "Let's go in." Liu Feng hesitated for a moment before preparing to enter. "Wait, aren't you afraid it's a trap inside?" Chu Lingyun called out to Liu Feng. Everything around them was too strange, as if it had been premeditated. It was very likely that the enemy had arranged it in advance to lure them into a trap. "Do we have any other choice?" Liu Feng asked. Stunned by the other party's question, Chu Lingyun was speechless. Indeed, their every move was likely under the enemy's surveillance. No matter where they went, they would encounter danger, and there was no way to escape it. Liu Feng stopped talking and jumped through the crack in the door, followed by Ji Lai and the others. "Princess, shall we go in?" The princes looked at each other, and all turned to look at Chu Lingyun. "Walk." Gritting her teeth, Chu Lingyun stepped through the gate and disappeared. As the group entered, the bronze gate, which had opened a crack, closed tightly again, just as it had before, unmoved since time immemorial. The moment Liu Feng entered the bronze gate, darkness descended upon his vision, and even his sense of touch was sealed within his body. The powerful spiritual energy that had been released around him was also forcibly compressed within his body, rendering it unusable. The sudden lockdown startled Liu Feng slightly, but he didn't panic too much. After a moment's thought, he gradually relaxed. Behind them, more than a dozen figures appeared one after another, and the darkness in front of them quietly dissipated, with slivers of light piercing through the darkness once again, illuminating the space in front of them. What comes into view is a vast and ancient stone hall, with 8 towering stone sculptures of human figures standing on both sides of the hall, their expressions solemn and dignified. Behind the 8 human-shaped stone sculptures is an open space about 20 meters long and wide. A 6-pointed star pattern is carved on the open space. At each point of the 6-pointed star and in the very center, there is a ferocious and terrifying monster suppressing it, revealing a trace of evil aura. Liu Feng walked step by step into the depths of the stone hall. Not far in front of him stood a gray stone tablet with what appeared to be a few lines of small characters engraved on it. Upon closer inspection, Liu Feng was slightly disappointed. The stone tablet was severely damaged, and the inscriptions on it seemed to have become blurred due to its age. Only some words could be vaguely made out, and he had no idea what they meant. Ignoring the stone tablet, Liu Feng arrived at the 6-pointed star formation, his expression somewhat solemn. Although there was no energy fluctuation on the 6-pointed star formation, he could still faintly sense a fierce aura, which was emanating from the 7 ferocious beasts surrounding them. Liu Feng was naturally familiar with the 7 ferocious beasts, which were all famous beings in ancient times. They were Qingji, Taotai, Qiongqi, Hundun, Zhujian, Taowu, and Kuei-Niu. The formation suppressed by the 7 ferocious beasts was naturally not to be underestimated. Could this formation have been set up by the first desolate king? Liu Feng asked without hesitation. "It shouldn't be," the Prince of Shilin frowned, then said. "I have never seen such a formation before, not even in the records of my clan." A look of surprise flashed in Liu Feng's eyes. "That's strange. Who set up this formation? And what is its function?" While pondering, Liu Feng slowly stepped into the 6-pointed star, walking step by step towards the center of the formation, where the fierce energy was most concentrated. Only by uncovering the secrets of this formation could Liu Feng deduce its function and find a way to break it. However, just as he stepped into the very center of the 6-pointed star, suddenly, with a buzz, the eyes of the 7 ferocious beasts lit up almost simultaneously.